I'm gonna call the board meeting to order at 7:02.
Elbow me if I need to say something and I'm not.
Okay. And,
Second.
so are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I could make some comment about just being the three of us here, and we could
We are,
do whatever we wanted.
well, we are still on
I
tape.
know, I know. So no adjustments.
So-
He's teasing.
A big
No
silly.
tomfoolery, Mr.
Exactly.
Baker.
I think that one adjustment is 6.2 is now called professional development calendar, not release time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then audience and communications. Kristen, thanks for coming. Hi out there in TV land. Jeez, man, put that thing on silent.
It is on silent.
Then I guess we're going right to personalized learning plans. Are you up, or are you gonna introduce
Yeah,
David?
no, I'm getting one thing off my to-do list, and that was to share it with Molly and Elaine. So I'm gonna walk us through. Dave is here, and I can be the button pusher and the talker, hopefully. There's not too many. You guys just learned. I think Molly at one point said alphabet soup. What's a PLP?
Personalized learning plan.
What's SBL?
SBL, standards-based learning.
PBL?
Proficiency-based learning.
Great, all right, they got it. PBGR? That's
Peanut butter and jam sandwich.
No. What is PBGR, something about the graduation requirement, proficiency-based graduation requirement?
Proficiency, yes.
You met your learning target.
So fantastic, because
Good job.
we're gonna be, the alphabet soup continues, but, yeah, yeah. HCS, PLP committee. I want to really give credit where credit's due, and Dave and the guidance counselors have been really the people on the ground getting a lot of this work going. In the very early stages, this is work that's been going on all year, and in the very early stages, Dave would go to these meetings, come back, report out to me, and he's really the expert at Hinesburg. As Molly and I and that team of 10 have been going to PBGR, we've gotten quickly up to speed. So, but the learning is in its infancy. So we have a local HCS PLP committee. It's myself, Dave. Barb Spalding is taking the lead for the 7-8 teachers because, as you've heard, this starts with the 7th grade. And Stacy, I'm going to try not to leave anything out because I know that you didn't catch the overview. And then Jess Wilson, our tech integrationist, is also part of it. The core ideas. The core idea for me is really that it's the law. I've heard Molly say this. I've heard Jeff say it in the thing, in the CSSU presentation. I don't know if I'm in the minority, but a lot of what the state is asking us to do makes sense to me. And it makes sense for our teachers, and it makes sense for the high school students that you talk to about, Jeff had that example of how they describe themselves as a learner. So, and I'm glad that Molly said that differentiation isn't going out the window. We take a look at differentiation, we take a look at math best practices. In math best practices, one of the core ideas there is that there's more than one way to answer a question. No longer is it you stand and deliver and everybody has to do the same methodology and the same learning and the same thinking. And I think of Act 77 as putting it all together and formalizing what we have already begun. This isn't new. And that's what Dave and I keep coming back to is that this isn't new, this isn't different, but it's gonna allow us to formalize and to really structure to make sure that every student has that set personalized learning. But the core ideology behind it in terms of personalizing learning, that's not new. Our teachers have been doing that for years. So as you've heard, by November 2015, students in grades 7 and 9 will have a personalized learning plan. I think that the important piece here is that what happens to that personalized learning plan? do Dave and I sit down, and I'm the student, he's the teacher, and I say, here's my personalized learning plan. He says, oh, good to go. And then I walk away, and then I'm done. I've met my requirement. That's over. That's done with. Never to be revisited again. No, absolutely not. So we're going to talk about how that's going to look at HCS. But what the core idea here is that this plan that's developed in 7th grade is going to be a very basic, personalized learning plan that's going to continue to grow and develop as the student grows and develops. It's going to change. I think one thing that I'm just thinking about now that would be really cool is to actually document or take a picture or something of that first personalized learning plan, so that when they see what it looks like when they graduate in 12th grade, how much it's changed and morphed and developed as they've gotten older and as their thinking and as their learning has developed.
And we'll probably get into that, Jeff, but there will be a way by the use of software where students will be able to see that. And one of the things that was really important that we did as school counselors is to make sure that what we do in 7th grade wasn't going to be duplicated down the road with CVU. And that's why it was so important for the school counselors to work together, because we didn't want to make redundant work for students. We wanted the work that's going to be done to have a flow and kind of to move smoothly through CVU. So it took some adaptation on our part of how that's going to look at the 7th and 8th grade, so that we weren't duplicating things that students would have to do at CVU.
And the CSSU team that's been talked about, as the school counselors are deeply involved in it, and it also has the connection with CVU, which is great. So in short, it's the law, but it's good practice. It's something that we're all standing behind, and we definitely aren't resistant. And that's the end of the presentation. Critical elements. Can you click on that link? The word critical elements is a link. You might want to scroll down. This is, you can see that it's a state of Vermont education site. These are the critical elements delineated. I'll let Dave talk a little bit about this, but if you look on the left, the critical elements are student information, self-knowledge, student profile, and it goes on individual student growth. Dave, do you want to speak about this chart here?
Well, basically, when a personalized learning plan will be created for a 7th grade student, it will have those kind of core values. It will have them set an academic goal. It will then ask them to reflect on that goal at the end of the school year. So these components, not all these, this kind of personalized learning plan that has post-secondary goal, action steps, and so forth, that would be the piece that CVU would pick up. But kind of the precursory piece of this would be for students to identify their strengths, their values, their interests, and to set a goal in 7th grade.
So did you get all that? That was really meaty.
What might a 7th grader say an academic goal would be?
So here I can.
Do you want to jump?
At the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you
Perfect.
one thing that was shared with us. But
Yeah, I created, if I expect students to go through this, I went through myself, kind of set up a dummy account, called it Joe Schmo, and went through and did all the activities. And one of the things, thinking about myself, is, my math skills aren't that great. So one of my goals this year is to better my math skills. And then as part of the plan, it says, well, how are you going to accomplish that? So then the students have to think about, how am I going to get better at math skills? Okay, I got to work hard at that. I need to get extra help. I have, So one of the things that really excites me about this is because I spend a lot of my time with middle school students, and usually the ones that are having difficulty in school, but even sometimes some of the higher achievers who are bored, and I try to motivate them to kind of, work harder or look at an interest beyond what they're doing at school. And this is a vehicle for those students to look at, okay, what am I good at? What are my interests? What do I value? What am I good at? And then what do I need to work on? And it gives them a format to do that. And what's nice about it is it's not it's a less external motivator than an internal motivator, where students are asked to address those things and see the connections. And hopefully, and I see it being able to kind of vitalize students to take more charge of their education than it's just a teacher give me a grade.
So I want you to be sure that when I talk about critical elements, there's must-dos and then there's choice within the must-dos. The must-dos was that really meaty piece that you just saw, and I knew that it was really meaty, and I wasn't gonna have you look through each one of them. At Hinesburg, we feel like we can get to the critical elements by these pieces, principles and values, an opportunity for you to share what is most important to you. So what is it as a student that you value? The community, the reciprocal relationship between your surroundings and you, on you and you, on your surroundings. Oops. Citizenship, what is incorporated in good citizenship, and what is your plan to work toward these contributing elements? And then there's another section. Yep, go ahead. The exploration, what are your interests and how can you incorporate these into your learning? The goals, what are your goals for academic and personal achievement, and what is your plan for attainment of these goals? And the evidence, an opportunity to showcase the attainment to work towards the PLP. So, next slide, because I think it's gonna really get into it. Our plan here at HCS is that the PLPs are gonna be developed in our 7th grade humanities class. So our early thinking right now is that with the new teacher coming on board, we have an opportunity to restructure how our 7th and 8th grade teams look. What we have decided, newsflash for all those that are listening, is that we're gonna have a humanities section that's literacy and social science teamed, and then we're gonna have a math science section up in the 7th and 8th. And what that's gonna allow us to do is this idea of setting goals, working toward a goal, personal achievement, finding out what a student's interests are and harnessing that in our instruction. Those are all things that are happening in our literacy and our social science, our humanities, our new humanities class. And like we said before, is that this is formalizing the structure. So going through this learning, because I don't want it to, we don't want it to be a standalone where you create this plan and it just dies. We want this plan to be developed and be continuous through the student's day, through the student's week, through the student's months, years. We kept feeling that if it was sitting down with a counselor in a separate setting other than a classroom setting, that a piece of that might get lost. That Dave really might know what my strengths are and what my core beliefs are and what I truly wanted to attain, get out of my education. But how do we communicate with the teachers? But if the teachers are there developing, working with the students every day, not every day, regularly with the students, coming back to those goals, it has a much, I believe it has a much better chance of continually developing and working toward that personalization that we're hoping for. And that's pretty much what I said. Oh, do you want to speak to this, the formatting piece?
The other piece that I particularly like about a personalized learning plan is that parents will have access to that plan and to the work that the students do in developing their plan. I'll show you that in a few seconds through the software program that CBU uses and that we will be using to house our personalized learning plans. But through the software called Family Connection, parents can go in and look at those things that the students are working on, how the students answer those questions. And when I go through the program, I'll show you the pieces that are part of that program that you might be very interested in how your student or how your child would answer those questions. And that can be a point for discussion in terms of academics, goal attainment, life skills with students as well.
Why this will be great for our students. We had benefits from Act 77 was the title once before, and then I was like, no, like the reason why we're doing this is because it's going to be great for our students. So let's call it what it is. It's going to be great for our students because we're allowing them a system of flexibility to build the skills that they need in order to meet the standards. For so long, we've talked about in Charlotte Danielson what we use in order to supervise and evaluate our teachers. That the fourth domain, that a teacher who has truly mastered their craft has the students owning their learning. That fourth column in her rubric is all about student ownership. This isn't, like I keep saying that it's not new. This is what it's all about. It's having the students have that ownership over their learning. And now that it's law, and now that it's on our radar, the professional development from CSSU, from HTS, it's all going to be catered toward helping the student or helping the teachers get there. It's student-centered, it's transparent. The investment in independent student learning, all of those things kind of tie in. We could go on and on about, but it really comes down to the ownership. Dave is really going to talk about Naviance. Naviance is the system in which the personalized learning plans are going to be developed. We don't have to spend too much time on it. We thought that it would be helpful if you saw what it looked like and what the students are going to see. And yep, did the link work, Dave? So go ahead.
Yep.
Why don't you take like 2 minutes to talk about Naviance?
Okay, so this particular screenshot is just of a student I created under the moniker Joe Schmo. And this is what a parent and the student can access through the family connection. I didn't set that up, but this is what you would come to. So if you went to goals and click on goals, you can have an academic goal, a co-curricular goal, community service goal. For this demonstration, I just put in an academic goal. So if you click on that, work harder at improving my math grades. How will I know when my achievement in math grades are better? When my grade goes from a C to a B? Achievable, is the goal realistic? Do you have the tools? I will have to do extra work and get help from teachers. So it asks students some questions. When can I achieve this? So it's not only just setting up a goal, it's saying, how am I going to do it? How are you going to measure it? And when can you achieve it? And as they said in the bigger meeting before, that you can always come back and reflect. If they didn't meet that goal, then you can come back and talk about it. So Jeff, if you could go back up here to about me. So that was just one particular academic goal. The cluster finder here is, if you hit here, view my previous survey results. It's just basically, it's a questionnaire that asks students, do you like to do this? Do you like to socialize? Do you like to learn about political system, whatever? And this was really interesting. I kind of quickly did this, and this was my ranking of career clusters. So you see my highest was education and training, government and public administration. That was my undergraduate work. I never thought I'd be in education. That was my undergraduate work in school. And this one really kind of floored me, although I do a lot of gardening in my spare time. So, and just like, this took me about 15 minutes, it kind of gave me a ranking of the clusters, career clusters, that may, guide me toward some kind of interest.
So I think, I guess where I keep coming down is that we're at the infancy. We're trying to figure out, Naviance is a tool that gives so much choice for teachers in terms of how they work with the students to create their learning profile. And there's, how many surveys would you say? There's dozens of surveys
Right.
that are available for students to take to figure out who they are as a learner, what their career path might be.
what they value.
Yep. One thing that Molly mentioned is that there's some must-dos that we all have to do, but there's also some flexibility, and every school is going about it differently. And I think that we're all gonna learn from each other. And what's been nice about PVGR is that there's some schools that have been involved with the PLP process for a number of years now. And to see where they are is inspiring, but also a little bit overwhelming. Like, wow, you know, this is the possibility, this is where we could go, and here's where we are now. But it's taking all that information and at the CSSU level, at the Hinesburg level, and figuring out what's gonna be best for our students. So the only thing.
Jeff, can I,
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
could I just ask you to go back and go to completed surveys, because I just wanted to show, back again, to About Me. Completed surveys right down here. Just so you can, because they're, oh, it's not there, okay. These were just what I completed, but there's a scope and sequence. There's another screen, and I can't figure out which one it is now, that shows at CVU what the students will do as well. So it's all connected. So in seventh grade, they did a strength survey. In ninth grade, they're going to do another career cluster. And then they're going to create a post-secondary goal in ninth grade. And then in 10th grade, there's revisions of it. So there is a scope and sequence to it, that when they get here at CVU, there's that interconnectedness.
And what was cool for me is to see at one of our PVGR sessions was somebody who's been working on PLPs for a number of years, and he has his students do PLPs, and he's created this. And this is where I got the principles and values in the community, the citizenship up top. But it really talks about, it makes the learning come alive for the students, and it is so cool. I mean, how much is in this PLP? This is just the About Me page, the introduction, the principles and values, graphics, using technology, really delineating what their core beliefs are, community, a lot of video in this one as well, social webs. So this is what I mean, is that the possibilities are endless, and we have to figure out what is the right mix. Keith, you have a question?
So every seventh grader is gonna have one of these. And
Yeah.
eventually, every student is gonna have one of these in every grade.
However, if I can jump in, yes, eventually, and I think we're gonna
Wait.
go very gradually here, because it is a management issue in the greatest sense. However, what it would look like for a kindergartner might be 2 thought-provoking questions and some pictures drawn that then are transmitted electronically to the next year's teacher. I mean, we're talking, I think, Bill, you said it earlier, or someone did, about how nuanced it will be depending on the age group and also the capacity to manage it.
So here's my real question. What I want to say is, how does this not create chaos for our curriculum? But what I'll rather say is, how does this concept that it's student-driven, a personalized learning plan for what the student wants to learn, how does that synthesize with our curriculum and what we're supposed to teach them?
In Common Core.
Yeah.
So, I think we all have an option, or a thought in our head on how to answer it. What I keep going back to is Jeff's idea about having that target at the end. So that target doesn't change. That target is created by either our curriculum or our Common Core state standards, next gen. So those targets are already there. And on a truly 100% personalized learning, for a 7th grader, it would cause a little bit of chaos. But the teacher is still going to structure it and give opportunities for that personalization within a structure.
So the teacher is going to say, this is the endpoint where we need to get,
Mhm.
and he or she and the student then can create a pathway to get there, which might be different for each kid.
Perfect synthesis, yeah.
Right, and the other piece, just to decide, because I guess I'll come from the social emotional piece about it, is that you know, a lot of times I'm dealing with students and saying, why do I gotta learn this? Why do I gotta do this? And when there's engagement and you can say, okay, what do you wanna do? Where do you wanna end up? And these are the skills you need. Then you can kind of join with the student and kind of say, there's a purpose for this. And because of that endpoint, because they're always pushing back against the system, like, oh, I don't need to know algebra, you know, you can say, well, here's a skill set that may be helpful for you to attain. So they see a purpose in it. And then for the students that are basically self-actualized, I mean, I had a group of girls last year that would meet with me all the time and just complain about how bored they were. And they all were top flyers. And my encouragement to them was, if there's something you're passionate about, follow it. Just because you're not getting a grade for it and you're acing everything else, that doesn't mean you stop learning. So it also provides for those students an opportunity and a way for them to, you know, energize themselves.
Bill?
Several thoughts. and
Yeah.
comments, But, first of all, Jeff, what you said about we're doing this already, it makes sense to me too. It sounds like to me you're enabling kids at all different levels of academic progress to feel like they're gonna be successful and essentially create a goal for themselves to get to. Fabulous. Is that accurate?
It is, in a like, you know, the K4s do this.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's the goal setting. I think
Right.
what's different about this is that it doesn't get lost.
Right.
That it always has to come back, like the loop constantly has to come back. There was a graphic in that first presentation about where are you on the cycle, but it always comes back. And it's gonna always come back until you're a senior in high school.
So, as I see this presentation, I saw the technology-based feedback we're getting, and then the girl who had basically her own webpage of her PLP. I'm thinking about, as administrators, I think two things. I often see in organizations I've been in, a lot of resources, time and money spent on putting new programs in place. If you don't get buy-in from, essentially in this case, teachers and students, it's all for naught. It has to be, so that's just a danger that I see with this, is we spend all this time and effort, and 2 years from now, it's kind of sitting there in some kind of a stasis. My other comment is,
Can I address that?
sure.
I think the difference is that it's a law. And then they have to graduate with this proficiency-based requirement. And that's gonna tie back into the PLP. So the PLP is part of the flexible.
I understand that. I'm saying is what you folks said earlier is, we fill it out, we check the box, and it sits there.
Yeah,
That, to me, is a huge danger that you guys are gonna have to keep your eye on.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, you know, we've heard people say, myself included, sometimes, I wish I was more technologically adept at this. And it seems to me that all the staff is gonna have to be very technically adept, technologically adept to help their students navigate through this. And that's a whole nother thing I think we have to think about is, you know, what kind of time and resources we have to allocate to that, to make that work, you know, so it's just, I'm sure you guys have thought of all this, but I'm just reflecting as a board member, community member, like I can see a lot of work on your folks' part. This is a lot to chew off and put your arms around. I can see it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely nailing it there, that this is not something we simply, and you've already said this, perfunctory, okay, kids take a survey at 7th grade, then next year they open this up and they take their survey.
Right.
Precisely. There is enormous learning, both for students but also for faculty, around being sure this is personalized learning, not just a tool called a PLP. And so what makes that real? So it's not like we're gonna revolutionize all of this tomorrow.
I understand.
It's gonna be a gradual pacing of helping teachers manage this in a way that makes it meaningful, and becoming adept electronically, which we are increasingly getting there. But just, there's so many elements, you know, it'll just take us quite a while. It's a whole culture shift.
And when you
Exactly.
and I think the difference with this and maybe other initiatives is that when you believe that it's best, you're not going to let it you're not gonna let it like just kind of fade off and wither away. This is much like math best practice, is that we know that this is going to lead to student success, much richer academic rigor from the teacher perspective in terms of their instructional strategies. It's just going to raise the bar kind of on everything. That again, without having done a single PLP, this is my hope. And I think that when you believe in it, and the teachers are buying in on it too. I mean, the teachers understand, yeah, we've been doing this for years. Let's formalize it, and and Allegra and I have talked about what does it look like at the K4, and at our PBGR there was a really small presentation where somebody was in the early grades showing what it looked like, and talk about Q. I mean, it was just like a little video about what their learning target was, or their learning goal. I can't remember at this point, but really simple stuff at the elementary level. But we're not pushing there. They have plenty on their plate.
Well, I like the fact that you're setting the standard when they're young, so they recognize what it is and it grows with them over
Right.
time.
Yeah, just that common language and expectation.
You know, it's growing that reflective process in students that's so critical at a very early age, and their commitment to their own work. That, I think that goes a long way starting in kindergarten.
Well, I think it reflects well upon, as our society's changing, just our careers going forward, we've gotta be flexible. Adapt, whatever you wanna call it, and
How do you've said it, and I guess everybody's kind of said it, but how do you keep the students tuned into their PLPs
That's
on a regular basis? I guess, how do you do that?
So that's one thing that Dave and I are going to be really. There's the work of the team, the humanities team, to build the PLPs, and then on my part is supervision evaluation. Is how do I ensure that those stay alive and well? But then what a lot of schools are doing are advisories, or breaking kids off into small groups in which a point person can check in with them. So we're gonna see how it plays out in the beginning. We're gonna develop the plan and see, because there's gonna be 3 other teachers on that team that aren't involved with the creation of the plan, so they have to be involved in some way, along with Unified Arts, along with the administrators, along with the guidance counselors, student support teams. A lot of the people that you've met, we all need to be our hands in the pot, so to speak. But I want to try to create a system in which I don't just know about 5 students, but I know about all students somehow, some way. So if a student comes down to me, I can type into Naviance, I can type into their name, I can get their student profile, I can see what their goals are as a layer for me to best help that student in a time of need. But all I'm gonna say to you is that we're gonna constantly be learning from other schools in the SU, other schools in the state. How are you doing this? How are you managing it? It's one piece of the management.
And I think the other part, which is incredibly important, I always wonder why all these kids want to talk to me and why they want to have lunch with me and so forth. One of the critical components is that this develops relationship. Kids really want relationships with adults. And I think it's really important that in creating this plan, that there is a relationship with a teacher or an individual, so that when they get to that point where they're stuck or they have a question, they have somebody to go to. I've never, in the many years I've been doing this work at Hinesburg, I never had a kid said, I don't want anything to do with you, get out of my face, I don't want you to care about me. I've just really never had that. They may say it different ways, but they really want it. So I think this is important too when we look at personalized learning plans, that it develops a relationship with the student, with the teacher, that it's not just, you're getting an A, you're getting a B, I want to get you toward your goal or this goal and help you achieve it. And I think that's a little bit, that's a paradigm shift, Bill, from, I sit up here, Allegra gets a B, Jeff gets a C, and that's it. Sorry, Jeff.
I feel like this theory is alive in the workplace. I mean, we probably have it where you are, right? The PDP type thing.
No.
No?
Organization or structure.
Oh, okay. Well, teachers have it. I mean, we have it where I work and it's the same thing. It's just the workplace. It's a little different, but I think it does help a lot to have some sort of where do I want to be? Because if you don't think about that, you don't take any action to get someplace. So I think the concept I love, but I know like for my PDP at where I work, you know, I look at it once a year, you know, and you try to stay connected to what your goals are and reminding yourself what you want to do. But I think that's going to be the real trick for you guys is keeping people engaged throughout the year to getting to that end point.
Well, hopefully it'd be, you know, for me, you know, if a teacher asks me, can you check in with the student because he or she seems to be having a hard time. For me, who can go and then go look at every student's goal and, you know, if there's not something in their personal lives going on, saying, you know, well, how are you doing on this? You know, how's your progress going? What can I do to help? Or what can you do to do that? And the beauty for me of it being in that software or being available is that every teacher has access to that. So that the Unified Arts teacher could look at that and say, if this student X is acting up in class, how can I utilize their goal or what they want to do by having that information?
I think too, sometimes just putting pen to paper, if you will, and putting that,
Just writing that goal down
Mhm.
and thinking about it, whether you revisit it or not throughout the year, the kids are gonna remember in the back of their mind, I really wanted to accomplish.
You're right on, Stacey, like at
X.
the beginning of
Right.
every lesson now.
Just
whether
the
it's-
fact that they're writing it down, I think is good.
Yeah, whether it's in third grade or, I mean, and it's being modeled by CSSU is sticking that core idea. Here's the learning for the day, is getting the kids to think about it, and you're like, yeah, of course. But this wasn't happening 2 years ago.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, it's getting students to think about their learning.
Yeah, that's cool.
I know we're past our time now, so is there any other?
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
You did a lot of work there,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Well, the other thing that's crossed my mind both at the SU meeting and this one is thank God we're in such a big and great SU.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because if we were running one of those school boards for a school with 80 kids in it, I would be shuddering to think how they are complying.
How's that work done?
And at the PBGR, a school district had to present to us at CSSU, and they were talking about how they never got time together. They, like, this time twice a month for the last 5 months was the only time they've ever had to collaborate. So, I mean, there is great strength. I mean, I guess if anything, it's given me a good perspective on what a good place we're in as an SU. So, to have such alignment and collaboration and partnerships
And someone other than really administrator, the ability for me to get together with my colleagues at CVU and at all the sending schools from Charlotte, Williston, Shelburne, and talk about what we're doing and how this work can all dovetail to CVU and the support that at least we've got from our administrators is also appreciated as the kind of the frontline people.
Well, thank you for coming in, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Rath.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on then to 5.0 reports to the board. 5.1 principal's report. Anything you want to highlight?
well, we currently at 54 kindergarten students.
Excellent.
And Kristen was a big help, also with the kindergarten, orientation. She was representing Pi and, then she started representing Four Winds.
Four Winds.
We're talking about anything, giving out her phone number, it was
On one of the days.
yeah, you were there.
I did. And she stood right up. I know. I should send her a thank you. Yeah, she wasn't expecting that, but no, but it was great. I think parents.
And Ally as well was at 5
Mhm.
that
Right.
day that I was there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think it went really well. The kindergarten teachers. I just feel like it's really a nice collaborative effort that we're doing to get kids and parents in and see our wonderful school. SBAC was our 4th grade anyway. I think 7th and 8th too. We were done sooner than we thought. So that's good. Math went faster than we thought it did. So, and there were minor tech problems, but really nothing. Sky didn't fall. Things are going along really smoothly. You can see the jump rope for Heart raised over $5,500. Pretty amazing. You might be interested in duct tape parenting. Vicki Hoffel, I don't know if you've heard about her before, but she's just put another book out, and she's coming. Pi is bringing her in to do another workshop presentation. If you haven't seen her, she's really wonderful to see. One thing that came in after too was our EEE program raised $160 together with Annette's preschool to send to CamFed, and it started where they read the book Where Are You Going, Magnoni, I think that's how you say it. And they noticed that Magnoni didn't have any shoes for her long journey to school, so they had a wonderful discussion comparing and contrasting our lives in a small Vermont town to that of a child in a village in Zimbabwe. They came really excited to learn that they could help buy school supplies for a child in Africa, and they started bringing pennies and quarters and dollars. And this year, the EEE teacher invited the early learning partners at Annette's to share the book with the preschoolers, and they joined in the efforts to raise money, and they Skyped with each other so they could talk about what they had learned together. And so it was a nice community school way to raise money, and they raised $160 just on quarters and dimes and nickels that they all brought in. So that was a nice story. Yep. That's it. Yep.
5.3 debrief from the SU meeting. Bill and I were there. So Stacy, if you want to hear us, the common topic was a presentation by the SU team, two of which the members are Jeff and Molly, and on the personalized learning plans and all those acronyms that Jeff quizzed us on.
That I didn't know the answers to.
And in terms of the other business of the meeting, there really wasn't much. Just for the record, we approved the SU budget, which of course is the source of the pass-through for the SU part of our budget, which we have to pay. The delay is because we had to wait for all of the local budgets to pass, Charlotte having passed yesterday.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there was a little discussion that Elaine talked about what's happening in the legislature, what direction they may go in with
Oh, yeah.
consolidation, et cetera, and there's nothing's etched in stone yet, but they're still talking about it.
So we'll see what
Let's
happens
see what happens.
over the next couple of weeks. All right, 5.3, parent council debrief. Are you going to the PI meetings?
Yep.
Excellent. Do you want to say anything, or if Kristen, you want to jump in?
Kristen's a better representative than me, but I will say that, I can't remember her name, Jen Roth, she did a presentation, which was phenomenal. And that's up on the PI website if anybody missed that. And then they approved all the grants that people applied for, but I missed that piece of the meeting, so I'm not sure what they were for, but I just know they all got approved. So I'm not really sure. Oh, and then we've got the flower fundraiser that's going on right now.
So the grants, it was microphones, summer camp scholarships.
That's right, the summer camp.
Discovery science material discovery kits, consumable science materials
Yep.
for fourth graders.
And then trying out this new software called Dreambox for math, which is, it's just so much interest in it. The kids are loving it. It's just crazy. And
How did kindergartners using that? Is that what Addie was using?
First grade.
Thank you, she's in first grade.
At least it's not being broadcast.
yes, we don't have a lot of licenses, so I don't know which classes are you using it.
But that was the, Miss Lass sent to
Yes.
try this out thing yet, but
Yeah.
Addie loves it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids are just loving it.
It wasn't easy either, 'cause I sat there with her, and some of it I'm like, I had to I had to pay attention, really attention.
Well, and it's
It only gets harder, Bill.
what's that called? It's the same thing that SBAC is. So it's if you do this, it takes you down this path.
Oh, it's,
Adaptive,
yeah,
right,
adaptive,
do adaptive.
right.
So, and I can't remember the rest of them, Kristen.
That
you
was
got
it,
it,
it was the
yeah.
4
Yeah, okay.
the Discovery Science kits.
Yeah.
And the Dreambox, which, I think we got pretty detailed analysis of
Mm-hmm.
its impact on potential future budgets versus the payoff for how they're really using it to remediate as well as, get much, much more effective feedback on how kids are progressing. So it seems like definitely worth the pilot.
Just making sure that we don't lose the fact that all of this is possible because of the amazing work on the front end by our PI group
Right.
to put together events that raise this money to help teachers.
Yeah, there was also, I think I mentioned it, the flower fundraiser, and then there was also some talk about the garden and volunteers needed for different things for the garden and how far it's come and,
Today there was a seed and sample day.
That was today.
So much fun.
It was really fun. Kids got to sample beets and edamame and,
Popcorn with dill,
Caterpillars.
which I was surprised that they liked it as much as they did. They were
They
starting to
did.
hoard it. They were
yeah. And to learn what goes into salsa is the stuff that we grow in the garden, and they each got to plant a different section of the garden. So it was, when I was there, we were planting basil, tomatoes, and baby cabbage. And very short little window, get them in, let them work with the dirt, plant it, back to class.
Our parent volunteers look very happy and very tired at the end.
Doing that all day.
Some classes were a lot easier. In this case, the younger ones were easier, I thought, which surprised me.
but it is amazing how much classroom use they get
Mm-hmm.
out of the garden. I see it with my daughter, but it's a ton of use.
Yeah.
So I think I've covered everything else. I missed something, Kristen.
All right, thank you both. Facilities is Kathy's bailiwick, so I don't know if did you guys meet or
We have
anything?
not met.
Okay.
It's on hold right now
Okay,
until
so
further
we
notice.
have a, yep. 5.5 is just a placeholder for other committees, if anyone else has any others that they wanna mention. All right, then we'll go on to 6.0, discussion matters, 6.1, policy. Why don't we just address all three of them, so they're in the packet. Fortunately, yes,
Sorry,
yeah,
committees, just that.
yeah,
we're-
sorry, we're backing up.
Sorry, just for negotiations, we're going to mediation tomorrow. On
Okay.
the Support staff negotiations, we have mediation coming in tomorrow.
Great.
Sorry,
Who's the mediator?
Ira LaBelle.
Okay, thank you. 6.1, policy. There are 3 policies in the packet. Fortunately, they left the changes redlined, so we can see them. It really doesn't look like there's many changes. The only substantive one looks like actually the grade advancement, where they've inserted language on promoting based on a standard, which is very appropriate that we
Right.
look at that tonight. But if anyone has any feedback, I suppose you could point that to Colleen, who is our policy committee rep. Any other thoughts on discussion of policy? All right, moving on, 6.2, professional development calendar. We heard at the SU that there has been some, at the SU board meeting, that there has been some thought by our administrators about possibly changing some schedule for professional development time, but it sounds like it's not ready to really be discussed or certainly presented to any of the boards, be it the SU board or the locals. So I think we'll probably just shelve that for now. And then we'll go to 6.3, communications board corners, in terms of doing any articles.
Kate, I think we renamed that because you do have to vote on the professional calendar, even though it doesn't, oh, you're in discussion.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse
we
me.
have calendar,
Sorry.
we have calendar.
I just wanna make sure that
That's-
it's not the one that came through in your packet,
Yep.
Sandy
We're,
sent.
we haven't,
Yeah,
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there
Something
yet.
different.
No,
We're not there yet.
I thought we were too. My
No.
mistake.
Oh, okay, got
So, in terms of publicity
it. I got it.
for the board to our community, if anyone feels the need for do something, obviously, we got through budget season and we put some communications out for that. And we thanked the community for their support of our budget. I don't know whether there's really anything that we want to do in addition to this. Any ideas, thoughts, desires to do one?
At some point before the end of the year, you do have two longtime teachers retiring. I don't know if you want to
Yes.
acknowledge that. I think you might have done something like that. but-
Well, we certainly do something at the board meeting,
Right.
and we usually, does someone say something at graduation? Maybe not, because they don't necessarily teach those grades that are up there. Let me think about that
just throwing it out
and
there.
revisit.
Right.
But I was thinking that maybe once we reach a decision on what we're about to decide, that would be an appropriate thing to
Oh, there you go.
communicate to the community, in
Right.
which case, when we're talking about the end of school, we could mention
Perfect.
that there are some teachers retiring at the end of the year. Further thoughts? All right, yeah.
No,
Okay, well, let's keep going then. 7.0, action matters. 7.1, personnel. 7.1.1, approve nomination for 1.0 FTE physical education teacher. I guess I would enter, the materials in the package, I would entertain a motion to approve it. I don't know, I didn't ask, I mean, I asked about adjustments to the agenda, but I suppose if you wanted to have a discussion, that is probably appropriate for executive session as opposed to an open session. So if people aren't comfortable making a motion and approving it now, we can certainly table it for executive session and then act after that.
I suppose I had questions, but I didn't know if they were appropriate, so.
let's just, can we do a really quick executive session?
Okay? Yeah, so we'll leave 7.1.1 for executive session. 7.1.2, leave of absence. That was also in the packet. I'm sorry, it was not in the packet. It was in the email that we got.
That was, can I say the person's name or not?
I feel like we approved that last meeting.
No, this is a different one.
Okay.
We approved Ms. Conowitz last meeting.
This was Ms. Couillard? Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Yep.
she's, well, leave of absence to take over another job.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, that's, yeah, so.
Yes.
And we happily take her back if she came back.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I thought we talked about it last time.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe we did. All right.
Because I know her, that's why I was so.
Well,
Okay.
we just talked about it.
We
in
just,
executive
maybe we
session.
talked about it, but we haven't approved it. So now we need to act on it. So that means I
Make a
would
motion.
entertain a motion.
I'll make, so
Second.
moved.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Stacy, for that second. All those in favor of approving the leave of absence request, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. We have approved that request. 7.2, calendar 2014-15, last student faculty day.
Keith said I get to make this decision.
I did not.
Is there discussion on this?
Is that, I don't, wait a minute, we did, that was supposed to be, that 7 point, yeah, that's this year. I thought we were gonna look at next year's school board school calendar as a discussion
That's what I
item,
thought.
and then we
It is
approve it next year.
Right, it is supposed to be part of 6.2, professional development calendar. But it should say professional development student calendar.
Well,
You have both things in your packet.
I almost think that it was like professional development one, and then
Right.
school calendar.
Well, one of them's really about the length of the school year due to snow days, and that, whichever.
That's what we're on right
That's what I
now.
thought we were looking at.
That's what
Let's
we're
do
on right
that
now, is an
now.
active
And we
action
really
item.
do need to
Yes, we do
discuss
need to
this
look-
other calendar
yeah.
So we can vote on it, you can vote on it next month,
Yes,
right?
okay, so
Is
we'll,
that a half-day deal?
no,
No,
Okay.
that's
No.
not gonna come from.
Okay, all right.
that's not gonna
that's-
come up.
all right.
We'll
That
backtrack
got-
on
that
that,
got
right?
tabled.
All right.
Yeah, well, so we'll come back to that, we'll call that, well, we'll put it under 6.2.
Okay.
but we'll come back to that.
Yes.
Let's do 7.2 right now to approve the last day of last student day and faculty day for this current school year. For Stacy and possibly Kristen and whoever might be watching, who wasn't at the SU board meeting to hear this. See if I can do this succinctly.
I think I got it.
We
though. But you
schedule
can do it for me.
176 days, student days during the year. We are statutorily required to have 175 of them. The 176th day this year, because of snow days, would be Wednesday, June 17th. The 175th day would be Tuesday, June 16th, meaning that based on our calendar as originally approved, the last student day is Wednesday, June 17th. We could, in our discretion, waive that and have the last student day Tuesday, June 16th, but we have to have the last student day be Tuesday, June 16th. We can't do anything or any earlier. So our choice is to approve the last student day as either June 16th, Tuesday, June 16th, or Wednesday, June 17th.
With the knowledge that no matter your decision, the last teacher day will be Thursday,
Right, June 18th.
June 18th.
Okay. Whether we have this last student day on Tuesday or Wednesday, meaning there will be either one or two professional development days. All right. Thoughts? Motion?
I make a motion, the last student day be Wednesday, the 16th.
No.
That's a Tuesday.
Oh, Wednesday, the 17th.
Do you need me to do something? Give me a second.
I need a second for that
Second.
motion.
Second for the motion.
Discussion or thoughts?
I have something that's really been eating at me as far as this topic goes. And I asked a couple people, well, what are your thoughts on this as parents? And some of the feedback I got was, well, I already have my kids signed up for camp, so I'm going to pull them from school anyway. They're not going to learn anything the last week of school. And it just really irritates me. I don't know how else to say it except it really pissed me off. And I don't get that. Is that really true? Like, did the students not learn anything last week of school? Or I don't believe that's true. I don't want to believe it's true, but
The calendar that was published and which we've taken care of this year is, it had the last student day on
June 12th.
Friday, June 12th.
well, and that's if everything was
But
works
it
out.
wasn't, I don't think it was
Right.
communicated very well to the parents, so a lot of parents have made plans for that
Right.
following week. And neither here nor there, I don't think it's a parent's fault, and I don't think that it's a fault of the board or the administrators or any, there's no fault to be blamed, but I understand why parents would scurry around to
Right.
find,
You need a place for the kids
Well,
to go.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I have, because if there isn't school, you need to have them someplace.
Exactly.
And I feel like that week in particular, there are a lot of camps that aren't open that week. So if you don't get your spot, you're not getting in. So it's fine. But I'm not, as a parent, and this is my choice, going to yank my kid out of school because I happen to pay for a couple days of camp. If there's school, there's school. That's the priority. And that's just our family's belief. But are we gonna have the school open and have half the students showing up?
we don't
That's
know.
a family decision.
You
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean? But
Yeah.
like, what does, I don't know. And my personal belief is we should have school through to Wednesday. That's just what I think. I think ending on a Tuesday seems weird. I don't know why. It just does to me. I don't know because of how the last couple days happen to go. I don't know if it, I just think the further you kick it back, I guess, the days that they're not learning anything. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess I want to know your thoughts.
I'd like to get rid of the notion that,
Right?
the last week or 2 weeks of school, because I remember I've had this discussion before, and Jeff and I really looked at that this year. I can tell you that is not the case. Doesn't mean that, there aren't some end of year celebrations and
Right.
fun things happening. You would expect that. There's
Right,
lots of kids need different ways to say goodbye, and
right, and that's healthy.
and they get to have that time. But
Right.
there's not the movies. I mean, I
Right.
was told all of this stuff, and it's clearly not happening. I think teachers are pretty diligent, about the instruction and making the most of every moment with their students in their class.
That's what I believe too.
I do too.
One of the slides that Molly showed earlier in the presentation is how much work we have going.
Right.
And so there's an unintended financial
Right.
implication that could be factored into. If we have an extra day with teachers, it's one less day that we need them to come in during the
They
summer.
were paying them to come in.
And where do we get the most bang out of, I mean, we have so much going on. But that's just one other piece to factor in.
And do you have an estimate of that cost? And is,
No,
Well-
I mean, it's not gonna break the bank.
okay,
You know, I just want you to know that, that the day, that the teachers aren't gonna be sitting back in their recliners with their feet up on their desks.
no, I
Saying,
wouldn't
yeah.
have thought
Washing
that
their
anyway.
tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have
Be-
thought that anyway.
You know,
My thought is, I'm on the school board how many years, Keith? This is my 3rd year, I think. And I say the same thing every year.
Seems like longer,
Well, it seems like
doesn't it?
decades, doesn't it? I make the same comment every year as throughout the school year, I hear from teachers, administrators, and probably rightfully so, there's not enough time in the school
Right.
year for the kids to learn what they need to learn. My expectation as a community member, a parent, and a school board member is the kids are in school for every day that's contracted, the teachers teach every day that's contracted, and the accelerator doesn't come off until the day or two before the end of the school year.
Right.
I want full learning, vocabulary, spelling list, math tests, everything up until the last day or so. That's my expectation. And by reducing a day here and there, it's just, to me, it's a slippery slope, and it sends the wrong message to the community based upon what they are investing in the education of our children. So that's why I am for having kids in school through that Wednesday.
I had another thought.
And I think our administrators do a good job of having that philosophy through the school from what I've seen.
Thank you.
I guess what are your thoughts on what's best for the kids?
Well, there is a third option, is to do a half day, but on Wednesday. The kids,
I think half days.
the kids need that time. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I'm gonna go back to where I was going. Regardless of your decision, regardless of your decision, 8th grade graduation will be on Thursday
Right.
of the previous week, and the kids will not be expected to come back after that, the 8th graders.
What time is that at?
Thursday, the 11th. What time? 6 or 7, whatever it has been. I think 6.
6 sounds familiar.
But don't quote me on the exact time. The date will be the same.
Can one of you guys just make sure we get an invite to that, because
Yeah.
we did last year, the year before we did, and it happened, I didn't even know what was going on,
Yeah.
so.
Stacy, I think Bill raises valid points. That last week, I wouldn't say that there's not gonna be any learning going on, but it's gonna be a lot of reflecting, a lot of, closing the loop, in terms of tying up loose ends, in terms of the learning.
Especially if there are a lot of kids that aren't there. And I have to tell you, parents are saying the same thing to me too. They need care for a place for their child to go for the whole week. So they've signed up for these camps because they need a place.
To
Mhm.
tell you that the learning on Tuesday, the
It's too bad we couldn't have them go till
17th,
Friday.
is gonna be the same as the learning that happened today,
No.
it wouldn't be accurate.
Right.
But I don't want you, there is credence to what Bill is saying, is that if the last day was Monday, then that would bump everything else back,
Right.
but because it's, I think the weirdness, and that's why I remembered, is the weirdness of graduation being on Thursday.
Right.
There's something about that signifies the end.
Mhm.
Mm.
Not even, and I know that, like, for the 7th graders, it's gonna be really tough for me keep them going that last week, because the half their team is gonna be gone.
Right.
So, but that's neither here nor there. But it all factors into it.
If it was a professional development day for staff, it would be full of professional work. Because the last day for us, which we need as another professional development day, we always use for teacher-to-teacher transition of students. It's a very valuable time. We need that time too, so we would still have that additionally. And we're in a different position. The rest of the SUs hasn't had as many snow days as we have.
Would you still have that teacher-to-teacher transition time that next day, because the teachers are still in the
Yes,
next
we
day?
wouldn't, but we would not have, like Jeff was saying earlier, we wouldn't have, for example, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, this was their first year with the new Bridges program. And they have not had time to meet, except time that we've been giving them, to just meet as grade level and reflect, revise, what did we learn from this year? How are we going to do it next year?
You can go right down through
Right.
K2, ISA, 7th grade
Right.
PLPs. I mean,
I was
the
just
list
giving you
is-
one example.
Yeah,
And
right.
they need to have that time, and they'll be coming in this summer. The thing that's great about it this way is that we know they'll all will be there. Whereas if we're going to have it on July 13th, because that's when, the majority of them can come, it might not be everybody.
And we can't mandate it.
And we can't mandate it. So that's the difference.
So it does pose challenges for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all valid, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
and
We're,
Well, and then I hear the parent on the other shoulder going, complaining maybe about a specific teacher that's never in the classroom and how their child's not getting maybe what they need from that teacher. And I'm going, well, you're the same parent that's gonna yank your kid from school the last 2 days. I don't get it. So, I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about the whole thing. I guess I'm just frustrated. I don't know. I
Well,
guess I wanna know what Keith thinks.
The motion on the table is to approve the last day of school on Wednesday, the 17th.
That's the question.
Here's my perspective.
I wanna know Keith's opinion.
We paint this calendar colors to indicate student days and staff professional development days. And we always paint 176 of them green. And we're not changing the number of student days by having it be up till Wednesday, through Wednesday.
Correct.
There is precedent in Hinesburg and throughout the SU to drop one of those days to only require 175 student days when that 176th day is on a Monday, because everybody pragmatically understands that that's really not going to be productive student learning. Once we cross that threshold and we start having 1 and then 2 days that week, I think it will be more productive for student learning to have that 3rd day. Because if there's gonna be a slippery slope, I'd rather have it on Wednesday so that you get 2 productive days out of the week instead of on Tuesday, in which case Monday's really not productive either. So I will be voting because I have to vote because we need we have to have a quorum. I mean, in order to approve anything, it can't be a 2-1 vote. It has to be a majority. Well, actually, that's not true. Quorum's here. It's a majority of who's here. But anyway, I'm going to be voting in favor of a last day on Wednesday, the 17th. And I completely understand the parents who are looking for childcare that week. I completely understand the parents who, for enrichment or other purposes, have arranged for a camp to put a child in that week. And it is completely their prerogative to not send the child to school that week. It's a shame,
Yeah.
but I understand, and that's their prerogative.
But whether we approve Tuesday or Wednesday,
That-
those parents still have an issue.
Those
Right.
parents still are
And
probably,
maybe there are families
registered
that are
for-
going, woo-hoo, now I only have to come up with 2 days of care for that week. Who knows?
And I don't think we're gonna get close to this, but there is the 50% plus 1 that Elaine was talking about. With the 8th graders gone, we have to have at least 50% of our kids in the building.
Oh, so does it count?
Doesn't count.
I don't think
All right, so
Eighth grade's not
there's,
big
there's my perspective, so I don't wanna force the issue, but if you're ready for the question,
I'm
we
ready.
can do that.
Sure.
You ready? All right, so the motion again, the motion on the floor is to approve Wednesday, June 17th as the last student day. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you very much. Now, should we go back to 6.2 to
Yes.
talk about the 2015-16 school year calendar?
Which is just a discussion item this time around.
Yes, it is.
And where was that in
Allegra,
our
you
packet?
have a new one for us to see? Because the one that was circulated electronically had some fault on it.
Do you want me to forward it to an email?
I think everybody
Well, I
got
think
it.
she
It was
has
just
it.
the last email.
Oh, yeah, I have it. I thought you had hard copies for us
I
to look
don't.
at.
What's the-
So the last email that she sent?
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
the-
revised calendar.
What's the difference, or what's the,
She sent 2 out today, and I
but
just wanna make.
what's the discussion matter that we're trying to discuss here? What's the,
Just
Okay.
looking at it because you'll vote on the 15-16 school calendar next meeting. So it's to have a
there's
look
no
at
big
it.
changes,
Is there an
no-
issue or
nothing?
concern?
Here.
October
No,
9th
have a
was the
look.
change, and October 9th was a parent-teacher conference day, and that's what was changed.
No, it's-
So this was.
So October 9th is still parent-teacher conference day?
Right, yep.
It was initially, I think, a professional development on the earlier calendar, and that got changed to a,
It's,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
It doesn't
Sometimes,
matter.
all the parent-teacher conference days were named PD days for some reason,
Oh,
so
okay,
that's
yeah.
the change. Not sure why, but.
And last year, that was a professional development day, right?
No,
No, the schedule was really different last year than this.
Yeah, I feel like there was
We
a
had
couple
an
of days in October
October,
where there was no
we
school.
had an October professional day, it wasn't on the 9th.
But
And
it was
we-
in that range.
Yeah, I think it was more like the 12th or 13th.
Right, the following week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in November, we had 2 days, and they were like very similar, 19th and 20th,
No,
ring a
I
bell,
have it
something like
somewhere.
that.
So language, can we discuss it, Keith?
Yeah,
Allegra just showed me the calendar, I saw no glaring changes or omissions or differences, so I would trust the administrators to tell me if they like the calendar the way it was configured, and if
Yep.
you like it and it gives us 176 days, then
and we put orange boxes around 3 snow days.
I was just going to say, note that there are orange boxes around the
Right.
last 3 days of school.
Well, there's
I'm
room,
sorry,
there's
excuse
room
me.
for one snow day
I'm
anyway.
sorry. Around 3 days in
Yeah, those
June
get
of
pushed over.
2016, which could
The
become
teachers.
student days, depending
Right.
on their use of snow days during
Correct.
next winter.
So next year, if there's 2 snow days, we could remove the one day on the Monday and
Correct.
end on Friday, and it will all be just fine.
She
Correct.
has it down as parent-teacher
So-
conference
I
and,
think,
oh, that's for CBU.
perfect.
It looks like, I think, what
Right.
we've come to expect.
Right,
Yep, yep, it's the same number, you know, you've always had
right.
full professional development
Right,
days,
right.
they're here. It was more going to be a discussion
Got
if
it.
these were have to release days.
And again, just for the record, Stacy may or may not know this, but our public might not know this and appreciate being reminded. Our Hinesburg's calendar is very similar to the SU's calendar, but
Right.
all of our calendars are really driven off the tech center calendar.
Yeah.
So there's very little flexibility
Yep.
that we as Hinesburg or we as the SU have in this.
Absolutely true.
Well, and part of that is because we're trying to keep consistent with CBU. Elaine
Yeah.
could do some waivers for us as K-8s, but she can't do any waivers for CBU.
Yep.
Right.
And we want to keep consistent with
Right.
CBU
Right.
for lots of good reasons.
Great.
Makes sense.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go back to where we were, 8.0 consent agenda. I would appreciate a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. 9.0, confirm next meeting dates. The next Hinesburg meeting is May 19, right here, 7 o'clock. June 1, we have our annual retreat. The locals meet in the morning.
Good.
SU board is in the afternoon. You, of course, are welcome to stay. And then there's some SU board stuff there. I'm not gonna ask for an motion to adjourn, but I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to talk about 711 in just a minute,
On the meeting days?
after we address what Mr. O'Hara wants to say.
Is the business meeting also for Hinesburg?
I believe the business meeting that was listed on the SU board agenda, I assumed it was an SU one. Do we also have one
No, I think it's just.
for locals? I think it's just the SU.
That's the
That was
sense I got.
June 23rd, I think, if I remember correctly.
I thought there was a local one.
Yeah, that's, I
Oh,
always
really?
thought that there was
I
this.
Yeah,
thought-
we had one back in the
I thought
day.
we had one
Yeah.
too, but
That was like the final meeting, it was like half an hour maybe.
yeah. Might I
The
suggest
23rd,
if
it
we-
says all boards,
Okay, so it really should be on
all
on
boards.
the Hinesburg agenda too.
Right.
So that's June 23rd at 5:30, probably here.
And what is that?
It is at CVU, it is in our regular big room, and it is at 5:30.
A regular big room?
Yeah, 160 for if you're gonna get every board together.
But it doesn't break out. I thought it was.
Well, it doesn't say that, it says all
5:30,
boards.
like 6:30 or something?
Yeah, probably. It might even be 6. It's short, it's very short.
Okay.
Cause I remember we used to, like, it'd be like a 15-minute, yeah, at the conference room at Hinesburg, we used to do.
All right.
May 19th is the next meeting.
So I need a,
Can we come in?
That's what the piano recital is.
We'll go to executive session.
June 23rd?
It's the same day as the May 19th. The next meeting is the same time as the piano recital.
Oh, we could have a quorum problem then.
We're not missing our daughter's piano recital.
Can we just postpone the meeting till June? Just kidding.
We'll deal with it, I suppose. All right, I need a motion for executive session,
So moved.
Second?
but you
But
want
I
to
wanna
say
make a
something?
comment
I know,
first.
I'm giving you
Thank
the chance to.
So, I wanna say, Jeff, I'd like to help me, last board meeting's presentation was by whom? What was that comment, the topic you gave us?
It was, yeah, it's the, the student support,
Right.
but it was the.
So if anyone's watching this, thank you. As great as this presentation was today, the one last meeting, I didn't say it last meeting, was phenomenal. I would say to anyone in the community who's watching this, go on to the website and look at that presentation. It showed the really good work that those folks are doing, and I specifically remember the number of referrals that were down, and just,
That was
it
really
seems
good.
like the climate was really hard work for these guys improving, so thank you for that, I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thanks. We'll share that with them. Appreciate that.
All right,
Right, I make a motion to go to executive session.
thank you,
Second?
thank you.
So.
Thank you both. You guys are coming in, or one of you's coming
You're
in?
gonna have to come out and
We'll
then
come out and
make,
approve. I don't think it'll take long. Do you want to hang out, or do you want me to just tell you?
I think it'll be 3 minutes.